There we go. Audio check. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me know in the chat. You guys give me a 1 if you can hear me okay, please. And let me know where you're coming from. Today we're going to talk about something that is potentially going to be very powerful, in some cases groundbreaking, for some of you who are on the cusp of a transformation. You're not alone if you are. It's happening all over the place. I'm in the field of mindset and helping people wake up to deeper truths is what I do. And I'm seeing, again, all over the place, people are shifting in their perspectives, shifting in their paradigm. The paradigm is a collection of beliefs. In most cases, you inherited that paradigm from your parents, and they inherited theirs from their parents, and so on and so forth. All the way down the line, there is a family paradigm that is a pattern of energy that you inherited. Thanks, Karen. I appreciate that. So the paradigm or the belief system that you inherited is also associated with an energy pattern. That's the first thing I want you guys to understand today. Now, why am I even talking about this? Let me back up a step. Because I believe that we're in a new age. The new age is marked by the convergence of science and spirituality. Converging, science and spirituality. Science is catching up to what the ancient mystics and gurus and teachers already knew and practiced. But quantum physics is now corroborating some of these effects, like the observer effect, and that is our observation of reality has an impact on creating that reality, which is interesting. It speaks to our creative ability as human beings. So this is one of the things that we're waking up to. We're waking up to this realization that it's actually pretty special that we're here in this present moment. It's actually pretty remarkable that we're in presence. We can think about the past. We can think about all the important people who came before us and all the discoveries and all the events of history. But at the end of the day, what is it? It's in your imagination. That's the only place it really exists. You can probably think back to when you were in high school and you were reading your history book, U.S. history or world history, remembering the facts, right? So in other words, you never experienced the history. You were fed history in books in high school. Now you're remembering what you were fed of the things that actually happened that you didn't actually experience. My point being that what you think life is, what you think the history of mankind is not what it is. It's a figment of your imagination. And you are this consciousness in this razor thin membrane we call presence. Razor thin membrane of this present moment. More miraculous than any human being could ever fathom. And that's our essence. That is who we are. That is what we're here to discover. The beauty of this is that just contemplating presence like we are now and realizing the past is not real. It's a figment of our imagination. The future is not real. It's a figment of our imagination. The only thing real is this present moment. We can talk about it and we can be intrigued by that, but it is so immensely powerful as a transformative tool over time that the dimension of discovery never runs out. The dimension of growth that we can step into as a result of enriching our consciousness in this way is infinite. That's what it means to be a conscious creator in the age of personal empowerment. Do you guys resonate as conscious creators? Is this stimulating? Is this interesting to you guys? Is it intriguing? Let me know in the chat what's coming up for you guys so far as I talk about the shift in consciousness in this new age we're living in. I want to hear from you guys. Nicole RN says, soothing voice. Anthony says, of course. Interesting. What about it do you resonate with? People aren't ready for what's coming. Mr. Nice Guy. I think there's some truth to that. Yeah. But how do we prepare? Let's talk about that. Now is all there is, says Anthony. That's what's intriguing to you. I like that. I like that. Fear is holding a lot back, says Mr. Nice Guy. Now, this is super interesting because what you're saying and what Anthony is saying are actually intertwined. Now is all there is actually your mechanism for preparing, right? Not the traditional type of prepping where you're building a bunker and you're stacking ammunition and reserves because you're afraid of what's coming. No. Preparing the soil of your consciousness by being here now. Because do you see how whenever we project out what's coming, it's more of the same. It's more of the divergence from the haven, the safe haven that is your own consciousness. I hope you guys are getting this because it's a human tendency and it's as characteristic of humanity as it gets to project out into the future in fear or worry or doubt, or to ruminate on the past and argue with what's no longer here anymore. And what do we do in both those scenarios? We squander the now. That is the human condition. That is what continues to perpetuate a fear-based paradigm. Yes, however, I did many years of meditation training, says Karen. Okay. Many years of meditation training. And what do you take away from that? Anthony says fear is not real. That's a good way of putting it, right? Because fear is always based in projecting into the unknown. But what are we doing? We're overlaying our own belief system onto it. When we overlay our own belief system onto our projections of the future or the past, we tend to recreate those things over and over and over and over again. That is why shifting your belief system and shifting the paradigm is the way to actually shift in your life and make real change. That's subconscious reprogramming. That's what that's all about. I never thought I would be into this stuff, but 2 months ago, like a fire started in me. Exactly, says Cheese. Exactly. That's what happens. No one's prepared for that, right? Whenever the light of consciousness starts to expand within you. And that's really what's happening. Spirit wants expression. And the way you've been living has been dampening the flow of that expression. How many of you guys feel like the way you've been living is dampening the flow of energy to and through you? It could be your creative endeavors. It could be your profession, your livelihood. It could be your closest relationships. It could be your personal health. Those things will all suffer if we're letting programs from the past continue to run our life. So earlier I said the human condition is to project our belief system onto the future and onto the past and onto other people. It's to project and give away our power, right? Now what I'm saying is that you can recalibrate that. You can come back into presence and the inner knowing that you have, and you can actually heal those patterns and shift your belief system deliberately. And if you're not shifting your belief system deliberately, then you're actually increasing the suffering in your life day over day. That is the path to more fulfillment, more satisfaction, and happiness. It's to actually let go of old beliefs. and call in new ones. If you're not using that human faculty, you're experiencing a sense of extraneous contraction. You're contracting more than you should be. You're contracting and contracting and contracting on an energetic level when that energy is seeking expression and expansion. I quit my job, started an LLC, started fasting, changed diet. Woman thinks I'm nuts. Tell her, baby, I'm transforming. Get on this train, okay? Because it's only upward, onward and upward. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, the truth is that it can be a windy road, twists and turns when you start expanding and transforming, because, you know, we can try to orchestrate and sort of control our own transformation, but there is a large element of it that's out of our control. And our job is to come into alignment with this truth that's seeking expression. So that may help you, Cheese, is to do that self-introspective work of, you know, first of all, what is this evolution about? What is this evolution about? Just get out your pen and paper and start writing things about the shift happening in you. Okay, and then the next thing you're going to want to do is start identifying, tracking, writing down your triggers. Because the things that are triggering you now, as you're transforming and expanding, each one is holding a key for your next breakthrough. But your life is going to become excruciating if you don't pay attention to these things and start making deliberate changes, right? Making those deliberate changes can be rough because you're still in the old paradigm. It's still very difficult to see outside of your own belief system. That's why you need a support system a lot of times, someone like a coach who can help you see your blind spots and help you understand what this trigger is telling you. I have a process for that, by the way. It's called trigger therapy. And what I do is I take people through a very simple process, this 3-sheet worksheet, and we identify the trigger. We look at the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the behaviors, the beliefs, the story, all that stuff around the trigger. Okay, and then we use a reframing technique to re-engage your creative mind, because the creative mind has been held prisoner by this belief system for so long that now you keep getting triggered on that subject, right? So, and then the third step is to rewire your subconscious mind through repetition and emotional impact. So I help you create a list of affirmations and a script that helps neutralize that trigger and utilize the benefit that it's there to deliver to you. That's trigger therapy, and it's part of my sync method. Expanding. Exactly. Mike. Nice. Sporty Spice says, take that key away. What do you mean by that? You're expanding your mind, body, and spirit. You're going to see huge astronomical changes. Don't slow down. I definitely am crying and letting go of the anger. My dad is 100% Italian. Men don't cry, was his belief. Yeah, I resonate with that. And that's the type of change that Mr. Nice Guy is referring to. Oh, not crying. Well, listen, I was going to say that this might be a season for crying. You know, you men out there that were raised to be macho and not show emotion, well, we're waking up now and realizing that that's not healthy. That's not masculine. It's not masculine to hold in your crying. It shows more strength and courage to actually show emotion. Okay, and I'm not saying to just like be a blathering person that can't control their emotions at all. You definitely still need to develop tact, understand there's a time and a place, and there's a healthy way to express it. But there is a time and a place for a man to cry and let that sorrow out, because sadness and anger, they need to be expressed. This is a modern understanding of psychology and just consciousness. Suppressing emotions is a recipe for disaster. Whether you're a man or woman, doesn't matter, or anything in between. Expressing emotion is critical. So doing it in a healthy way is also extremely important, because we tend to not have very much emotional intelligence in society. We're not taught emotional intelligence. It's something we kind of got to fend for ourselves on and learn. I cried in the mirror today. I bet that was a really powerful experience for you, man, and painful. It's not easy to do that. Not easy to confront the truth and look at that. So, emotional resilience is a major part of my coaching and a major part of the sync method. The sync method is my unique method for reprogramming the subconscious mind, and it makes it very simple and straightforward. We talk about deprogramming the mind before reprogramming the mind. We talk about integration instead of, excommunication, for example. Like in a religion, if you violate the law, they excommunicate you. They cut you out. They reject you. Okay? They reject you. How many of you feel like you've embodied that habit upon yourself? You've tried to excommunicate parts of yourself or reject parts, the sad part, the angry part, the grieving part, the resentful part, the victim part. How many of you were trained that you never play the victim, you never blame, you never explain? And so you never actually got in touch with that part of yourself. You never got in touch with that part of yourself. You just try and cut it out. And what does that do? It sets you up for an inner battle. Always. Waging war with yourself. That's a war you'll never win. Think about it. That's impactful, says Livy. Good. I didn't cry most of my life, got sober and couldn't stop, says Roman. I feel you there. I feel you there, brother. I didn't cry for 10 years or more. And when I started up again, it felt good to finally release those things. The anger is what made me feel like I had power. That's totally understandable. Cheese. What's your first name, Cheese? Is it Mike? So I don't have to keep calling you Cheese. The anger is what made me feel like I had power. Yeah, so that's super valid, because anger feels more powerful than despair. It's a step up on the emotional ladder. If we've fallen all the way to despair and hopelessness and helplessness, then anger is a step up. Anger is getting your vitality going again, where it felt like it had just probably stopped or disappeared, right? So understand that you are working your way up an emotional scale. Here we are talking about emotions again on the topic of mindset and consciousness. Energy and motion, well, it's on a spectrum. At the very top is unconditional love and joy and exuberance. But how many of us are living in that? Most of us are oscillating somewhere in between on a daily basis. Some of us hit all the way down to despair, unfortunately. And we get stuck there. They call that learned helplessness. So our work here is to reclaim our personal power. How do we do that? First, we recognize it's about where our attention goes. Okay, if your attention has continuously gone to the problem and the negative and the disempowering story, first step is to recognize that. Okay, to recognize that you've been giving your power away. How do you know if you've been giving your power away? What do you guys think in the chat? How would you know if you're giving your power away? What are some situations or scenarios in your life that you feel like if you knew your own personal power and had a sense of true self-confidence and self-love and self-respect, and you knew where your creative power resides in here, how those situations or circumstances might be different? I mean, the holidays are coming up. How many people are afraid that you're going to lose your personal power in the mix when you go home? Go back to your family of origin and mix with them all at once. That's one way we give away our personal power. We let the opinions of family sway us, right? My mother, if she had her way, I'd live in a plastic bubble. She doesn't want me to ever experience any pain. She doesn't know that, I'm here for adventure, and I'm here to mix it up, and I'm here, to go big. So if I were to listen to my mother, I would be giving away my personal power because I'm satiating my mother's need for safety. Right? Satiating other people's needs all the time without thinking about your own. Giving away personal power. Jen says you're more in the flow state instead of controlling. You keep your energy levels stable. Okay, what is that? An example of how you retain your personal power, Jen? Because I asked what situations you give away your personal power in life. My family will never put you down. Family will always support you. They will also tell you, but it's only an opinion. Remember that. Family will tell you a lot of things. And if we're not careful, our identity can become constructed by those familial influences. This is happening widespread, right? In fact, it's an insidious paradigm. Ooh, the insidious paradigms are my favorite. These are the ones that are disguised as virtue, but they're actually disempowering. Like, family is everything. Or, my work is to pass on the family paradigm. My work is to honor the family, to honor the father and mother. Insidious paradigm, because they're false and they're disguised as virtue. You're not here to perpetuate your parents' beliefs, opinions, anything. You're not here to repay your parents because you owe them. Those are both flawed premises that disempower the individual. If, as you grow up, you find your truth, your true resonance, and it happens to coincide with that of your siblings, a sibling, your parents, a parent, then an authentic relationship can ensue. Prior to that, there is no authenticity if you're just repeating patterns, if you're just living to uphold the standards of a family legacy. Okay? Why? We're all on a path of individuation. That is becoming an individual. That is becoming the true version of yourself. That is becoming the authentic you. Well, you're going to have to go no contact with a lot of the things that once felt safe, that once felt oppressive in some cases, smothering, it felt like a duty, a responsibility. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility comes from your ability to respond to your own vibration. Yet we've been looking outside of ourselves for the indicators, for the feedback, for the self-assuredness that's not out there. The answer's not out there. It's in here. So the paradigm shift needs to be turning your attention inward. The paradigm shift needs to be learning to trust your own intuition. The paradigm shift needs to be honoring yourself first, so that you then have something to give and something to share. Otherwise, you are just repeating the nonsense over and over and over. Boundaries will bring out hate in people that don't like what you're doing for yourself. That's true, Mr. Nice Guy. And that's why I say when you go establish boundaries, you got to be a ninja about it. You got to ask yourself, what's your desired outcome here? Because if you go out just like shouting your boundaries from the rooftops, people are going to get offended. They're going to say, what do you mean you need boundaries from me? We need boundaries from you. Right? People get defensive and they recoil. That's not your intention. When you set boundaries, it's not to assert yourself so everyone knows No, it's so that you know. It's so that you can stand on your own 2 feet. Thanks for the roses. It's so that you can stand on your own 2 feet and feel self-assured regardless, in the presence of family, in the presence of people who are used to, controlling you or ridiculing you. Right? Your responsibility is in here, and it's to your higher self. If you don't have that intact, then you're operating at a fraction of your capacity. You're operating as though you're just a robot, right? So the move today is people are waking up. They're realizing they have power inside of them. They're realizing that they're creating their reality, except they're doing it accidentally because they're carrying guilt, shame, blame, and a host of other expectations that have nothing to do with their truth. They're all programmed patterns. How many of you guys are sick of the programming and the patterns? This empowerment would be to continue to look at others' lives instead of claiming your own, says Jen. Beautiful. That has dimmed my light in the past. Yeah, that's a habit of comparison that we picked up, right? Where do I compare? Where do I line up against that person? The truth is, when you think that way, there's never satisfaction in that. Because it's a comparison-based paradigm, you can win. You can get your hand raised. You can be on the top of the podium and still feel empty and broken. That was me. So I'm speaking from experience. My dad told me what he taught us was all wrong, which I could not believe it came out of his mouth. Wow. Yeah, that's rare. That is really rare for someone to own up like that, It's also discombobulating because you're like, wait a second, you taught me all these things, and a lot of them I still believe in, and you're telling me that everything you taught me was wrong. And what's your dad actually doing when he does that? He's showing you that, it could be humility, and it could also be instability. It could also be a truth about your family paradigm, that the sense of security and the sense of confidence isn't actually as strong as you may have thought it was. Maybe it's built on lies. That's this very shocking realization to come to, that I came to, and it was very shocking for me, that my father's paradigm was based on lies. My mother's was. My grandparents probably were. Most of the world's belief system is based on lies. We think it's truth. And truth is actually inside of you. It's not out there. It's not in some religious textbook. So when I do my coaching, it's all about turning your attention inward and getting you reconnected with that wellspring of real knowledge, intuitive knowledge, the true knowing that you already are. I'm choosing to break my no contact for the holidays, and it's going to be interesting in that room. Yeah, I'll say. It's going to be interesting, no doubt. We can reprogram this reality. Yes, we absolutely can. We absolutely can. I text my boyfriend Tuesday night explaining how his actions hurt me. I haven't heard from since. Try not to text or call him. That's a real challenge there. Truly, Trudy. I feel you on that. And these things are kind of difficult to navigate a lot of times. But what I think you should pay attention to is your own emotions in this. So get your journal out and record, what it is you're feeling and all your thoughts, because you tried to express yourself to your partner and they were offended and they were probably hurt. Right? So these kind of emotional experiences are turbulent. And you have to understand that emotional turbulence is going to cause a reaction in people. So as you're transforming, you're also being called to expand your capacity for other people's emotions. It's difficult. It's really difficult. This is something I've really struggled with because there's so many emotions shifting in me. It's difficult for me to hold other people's emotions. But that's part of the transformative process. holding space for my own and for other people's emotions, letting them experience their own emotion. So when you tell someone that you hurt me, they're going to be hurt by that. Just let them have their natural reaction. Okay, give them some space and time, and use that space and time yourself to reconnect in here. Okay? So that you're not so dependent on the other person having some epiphany or having some change of heart. You're not so dependent on that. The truth is, you're actually creating the sense of connectedness. You're accessing that within yourself. Ryan, you up in the house today? How you doing, brother? Love Peace says, not if they are a narcissist. What do you mean? What not if they are a narcissist? Thanks for the follow, Megan. They wouldn't give a damn. I see what you're saying in response to the comment that I said. If you tell someone they're hurting you, they're going to hurt. That's a really good point, Love Peace. If they're not a narcissist, if they're a narcissist, they probably won't give a damn. You're probably right. So, but the point still stands. It's not about the other person. That's the hardest thing to realize. When you're expressing your truth, like, it's really about you. Because if you express your truth and say, what you said hurt me, and you need that other person to feel your pain the way that you're feeling it, you need them to, repeat it back to you. You need them to be the perfect partner for you. Well, you're expressing neediness and a sense of being so demanding that no one's going to want to be with you like that, right? Am I saying that you shouldn't expect your partner to hold space and listen to you? No, you should. But first you got to get right with yourself. You got to check your own broadcast frequency. If you're broadcasting insecurity and you need someone else to reflect back to you, what you want to hear, forget about it. That's never going to work. Did you guys ever see that one in Practical Jokers where Sal is wearing these boots that go up to his knees? Anyone watching Practical Jokers? It's like one of my favorite shows of all times. He's like, his job was to get a compliment from the other person on his boots, but he couldn't ask for it outright. You guys know what I'm talking about? This is classic example of what I'm talking about. He's wearing these boots that go up to his knees, and he sits down next to this girl on this bench, and he's like trying to show off his boots and get that compliment, right? And she won't do it. She's just looking at him, and he's like, these are my boots. And eventually she says, you seem kind of insecure about your boots. So she totally picked up on his broadcast frequency that was insecure and it was needing a compliment. This is exactly what I'm talking about. We need to own our shit and realize people will respond to the frequency we broadcast over time. If they don't right away, that's okay. Because it's not on them. It's on me to exhibit the frequency of self-assured and secure over and over and over until I feel it's true. And at that exact moment, you will have that be reflected back to you by the universe. That's when it happens. It happens when you sure up your vibration. Then all of a sudden people will say, you seem different. You seem more confident or something. I don't know. And you just politely say, thanks. Because you're not invested in their opinion. You're invested in your creative power. And that is always about broadcasting the frequency that you wish to live with and to create going forward. Gotta love it, right? Sal with his boots. I love that. So, I hope that all made sense. This is all on the topic of how to rise up in the age of personal empowerment. What is the age of personal empowerment? Marked by the convergence of science and spirituality. We talked about that. Spirituality is the ancient, practice of wielding the power of consciousness. wielding the power of consciousness. Now they're finding out in quantum physics, whoa, when you change the way you look at something, the thing actually changes. So goes exactly back to what I was just saying about you being invested in your own broadcast frequency and not needing other people to reflect it back to you. Because you know that to the extent that you shift your perspective, the world around you will also shift. But while we wait for it to happen in a feeling of lack and impatience, that's what the universe hears the loudest: lack and impatience. And therefore, that's what we keep getting reflected back to us. Okay? So rising up in the age of personal empowerment is having the awareness that your consciousness is the cause. Your consciousness is the cause. That's really good news, because you're actually the only one who's in control of the quality of your own consciousness. You're the only one. That's the truth. No one else can actually shift your consciousness. It can feel like they are. My grandfather told me that growing up. He said, nothing and no one outside of you can control what's going on inside of you. I didn't understand what he meant, back then, but it stuck with me over the years. And probably not an accident that I'm a mindset coach now, specializing in the subconscious, right? The cause. Now, here's the beautiful thing. This is why it's good news. Because when you wake up and you recognize this power, it starts a chain reaction. It starts a transformation in you. Okay? And it becomes very important what ideas you then allow into your consciousness. So you'll stop engaging in arguments. You'll stop engaging in conversations that don't have a good point. They're not pointed in the right direction. Right? Like if it's politics, for example, you're like, you know what? There's nothing good on the other end of this. You could consider it avoid, but I like to consider it navigate. I'm going to navigate around this. I'm going to navigate somewhere else. I'm going to let my compass point back to my true north. Oh, I don't know what my true north is? Well, then it's my imperative to hone in on that. To not waste another day, wandering aimlessly. Instead, I'm going to take aim. Right? Yeah, I don't believe there's any wasted time, to be perfectly honest, Anthony, because I feel like if you are, sort of wandering aimlessly, like you're not sure of your true north, or, you feel discombobulated, well, it's there for a purpose. The confusion, the discombobulation, even the feeling of not being as far along as you should be. Can't tell you how many times that's derailed me. But just take me, for example. I was raised with these very high expectations. Okay, my father just lived vicariously through me, and I was an extension of him. And so everything I did was to please him. Everything I did was to uphold the family paradigm. Was that wasted time? I don't think so. It was my undergrad, basically. It was the early training days. Even the confusion, even the bitterness, even the resentment, even the deep-seated anger and rage that I never got to express. Well, that all came out like a fire hose, when I started to turn my attention inward. But just think beyond time. Think beyond time, because time shortage consciousness is part of the trained illusion that we've been living in. Time shortage consciousness. Actually, the truth is you're eternal. Actually, the truth is it's not even about time, but we've locked ourselves into this paradigm, and it's part of the transformation that's occurring right now as well. It's why people are taking more walks and breathing deeper, because it opens up that dimension that was once closed and squeezed into a tight little thread of the linear timeline. You're so much bigger and more vast than that. The challenge, though, is with our perspective, our current paradigm, we can only see that very thin, realm of experience. You learn something going through every experience. going through everything, in my opinion. 100%. 100%. That's the idea. Yeah, still working on this. Programmed for sure. Right. So how many people feel like time shortage consciousness is a major issue for you? And that is where like you never have enough time to do something and you procrastinate, and it produces a lot of stress because of time, because I need to get it done by this time. Yeah. Okay. Jay Taylor says yes. This is very common, you guys. This is very common right now. This is one of the things we're healing on a collective level. Okay. Lady Luna says yes. This is one of the things we're healing on a collective level. It can really help if you can actually conceptualize the truth of the present moment, aka the eternal present moment. Time really is an illusion, you guys. But we very much experience it in a linear way, right? You wake up, you go out throughout the day, the sun rises, it falls, we go to sleep. It's very cyclical, though, when you look at it. It's very circular in nature. Everything comes back around. So it isn't actually linear. Just observe the celestial bodies, observe the rhythm and the breath of nature and the universe, and your own heartbeat and your own rhythm of breath that's in sync with that. So if you think on a cyclical level, rising and falling, ebbing and flowing, expanding and contracting, then it can become less about going from point A to Z. Okay? And it's more about an adventure away from home and then coming back to home. Going out and exploring and then coming back. And relaxing. So, and then the truth is that we're eternal. Now, eternity I used to think of as a really long time. Like, oh my God, that's going to take forever. Literally. And what about the beginning? So there never was a beginning if it's eternal. And there's never going to be an end, right? But that's actually more linear thinking. That's trying to understand eternity with a programmed idea of time. Okay? Here's what eternity really is. It's no time. Because time is the illusion. Our intellectual mind can't fathom this, but your inner knowing knows this. Your inner knowing knows it. It knows that you're in eternity already right now. Right now. Right now. You're in eternity now. You're in heaven or hell right now. You're not going there some other day when you die. It's going to be a present moment. You'll still be in the immaculate, eternal, ever-present moment. The past is a figment of your imagination. The future is also a projection of your imagination. You're in presence. You can flow through states of mind, states of being, images in the mind. They flow. They flow cyclically as well, by the way. You're probably having mostly the same thoughts today as you did yesterday, except for the fact that you're on this live stream right now, and I am feeding you with empowering thoughts and ideas. But other than that, the mind goes right back to autopilot, that cyclical flowing of energy. I've started looking at each day like it's the last day of my life. That's really powerful, Anthony. Jen says this is powerful. It is. It is. Each day can be thought of as a microcosm of your entire life. Okay? Each day. You know how the seasons pass through winter, spring, summer, fall. Well, each day has a season like that. As it rises, spring goes up to summer when it's at the midday, and then fall, and then winter. So each day is a microcosm of your entire life. You're here to recognize that you're in this bewilderingly just incredible existence. But we forget that. We forget it. And we get caught up in our issues. And then the issues get caught up in our tissues. And we carry it. Eckhart Tolle calls that the pain body. And we carry that pain body. And it gets triggered. And it activates fear. Activates the belief system. And the flawed self-concept. That's what this all comes down to. It all comes down to who you believe you are on a fundamental level. And it is somewhat tempting to let the ego run the show. The ego is not always, grandiose. It's not always putting yourself first. It's not always trying to look cool and powerful. The ego also falls into patterns of self-deprecation, putting yourself down, making yourself feel small, seeing yourself as a perpetual victim of life circumstances. That's also egoic. And the ego is grasping for an identity. That's what's happening. That's what the ego does. So don't declare war on your ego. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is understand that the ego is doing its best to understand who you are. So give it love and compassion and chill out, so that the ego can have a little more leeway to play around with different ideas, different personality traits. That's my suggestion with ego. Bob Proctor put it really well. He would say, have an ego, don't have an ego problem. He understood that we don't kill the ego and it stays dead. The ego can die and then a new one will be reborn right in its place. Chill out. Yeah. So when you have like a waking up experience, a humbling experience, something that really challenges you, it's likely that your previous sense of self is going to die, your previous ego. You're going to realize that's not who I really am. All right? But in its place, a new one is born immediately. The idea is for that new version of self, that new persona, to be in more alignment with the truth that you're infinite, that you have the power of God to create because you are. The God presence is within you. I don't always talk about it from this perspective, but if you want to stay on the science of it, the science is that you can use your conscious thinking faculty to put new ideas in your subconscious mind. You can train the patterns of electrical activity in the brain and nervous system. And if you're not training them, they're being trained by someone else. Okay? They're being trained. If you're not programming your own mind, it's being programmed. It's one of the two. Right? So does that mean that it's like all day long you need to be training your brain? No, you don't. But you should have some practices, some rituals in your daily schedule. Right? For example, in the Boost Mindset Academy, which is our community, I set it up so that there's several touch points every week so that you can be reminded several times per week of your power and be reminded of your true north, your purpose, and to be reminded of your goal and to be reminded of that next action step that you want to develop the qualities of character and to be reminded on the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and the behaviors that you're committing to. It's easy to get distracted from all this stuff, is it not? It's very easy to get distracted. So, where are we at with this, you guys? Can we sign up? You absolutely can. The Boost Mindset Academy is taking enrollments actively. There's a link in my bio. When you do, if you reference this TikTok, okay, just let me know that you heard about it through a TikTok live stream, then I'll shoot you a link to book a one-on-one with me, a free one. Okay. And in that hour session, we'll chart a path for your transformation. And I'll help you, understand how to bring order to your mind. That's what we do in the Boost Mindset Academy. I'll show you how to bring order to your mind, and you'll be surrounded by like-minded people who are on the same journey. It's a robust, lively community, and we do a lot of incredible things to help you reclaim your personal power and reprogram your subconscious mind. Right now, we're reading this book. I don't have it in front of me, but it's called Creating Money. And so for the next 6 weeks, we're diving deep into money resonance. And it's not just money, it's learning how to visualize. It's learning how to think properly, which I'm guessing you weren't taught, right? Because most of us weren't taught this. But your soul knows it already, and your soul is attracting this information right now. Everyone who's listening to this right now, your soul is attracting this information. But it's up to you, okay? And when I say you, I'm talking about you, the persona, you, the personality, you, the intellect. See, we have to convince our own intellect to take this journey. Take this journey inward. Okay? And reach out for the support that you need. Because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. But if this information is piquing some interest in you, if it's getting you sort of intrigued or excited, then I would say act on that. Take the move to act on your intuition. Do you know that's really what, at the end of the day, you're really seeking? The self-trust to act on your own intuition. That is sort of the end result of doing this work. You start to trust yourself again. That feels good. Okay. Coming from someone who didn't have trust in myself. Okay. Speaking from experience on this. Jen says it's an amazing group. Thanks, Jen. So happy to be in there and so happy to have you. And Jen actually recommended the book. So, I listen to what my members are going through and what you guys are suggesting and what you're learning, because you are brilliant. Each and every one of you has brilliance, and my job is to help to bring more of that to the surface, to help you bring more of that to the surface. Do you know how much of an honor it is to come together with you guys on this, with souls on the journey of self-actualization? That's what really gets me going. Any books you recommend on this topic? Well, Creating Money is one I recommend. I'm reading that here live in TikTok Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So tomorrow morning, I'll be on at 7 a.m. Pacific time reading chapter 3 of Creating Money. I highly encourage you all to join me there. Jay Taylor, you've lost your peace of mind? Well, my friend, it's still inside of you. That's the good news. It never goes away. It's just that our mind gets crowded out with a lot of junk. And that's very distracting. And it's very confusing. So, for a lot of us, you're in a season of stripping things away, not adding. Now, you can add the Boost Mindset Academy, but I'm going to then help you strip things away. You're going to start meeting with us on a weekly basis. Start meditating, doing breath work, doing visualization, studying the mind and studying consciousness, and asking more powerful questions. It's all going to enrich your consciousness. And when you do that, it can't help but shift the circumstances and the results in your life. It happens by law. Self-trust equals act on your own intuition. Yes, exactly. This doesn't mean that, we never take advice from anyone. It doesn't mean we're done learning. It doesn't mean we don't ever trust others either. But what it means is we start honoring ourselves. We start practicing making the move of the thing that we want to do. We start practicing shifting the narrative inside of our own mind. So if you notice a pattern of, putting yourself down because you feel like you don't have the discipline that it takes to be what you want to be or to have what you want to have, you notice that pattern. There's a little inner battle going on. I'm feeling bad about myself as a result of this. And you recognize that's the thing that needs to heal for the behavior to then shift. Okay? And that is actually a tried and true process. It's a process of asking better questions and rewiring your brain and your nervous system. We regulate the nervous system and we suggest new, powerful ideas, such as, I'm 100% unequivocally worthy of everything that I desire. Inherently. It's a birthright. It's a gift. Does that mean hard work is out? No. Hard work comes with a whole new quality now. I want to work hard because I know I'm aligned with my truth and my power. I want to dress nice because it reflects the truth that I know my quality is of the utmost, my consciousness is of the utmost quality, the highest quality. Therefore, I want to express that. All your expressions will start to rise whenever you get that clear. Whenever you get that clear. Thanks for the follows, you guys. Appreciate it. Follow along and join the Boost Mindset Academy if you guys really want to light a fire in your life and under your transformation and in your goal achievement endeavors. You don't have any goals? Then you got to join the academy because you got to learn the nuances of goal setting. You've probably learned, no pain, no gain, or you got to hustle harder than the rest, right? You got to get up earlier and stay up later. That all worked in the 80s and 90s. That's hustle culture. Okay, it's not bad. It's just that whenever it's not aligned with your truth, it becomes a major source of disempowerment. And you're going to just head face first into burnout, right? So, and then the 2000s, the conversation shifted into mindset and manifestation. Perspective shift, inward instead of outward. Maybe it's not as much about the external achievement, and it's more about energy alignment. But coach, you just told me I need to set goals. Isn't that focusing on the external? What we do is we think of an outcome. We pick a goal to shift our direction. The goal becomes your true north in terms of recalibrating your direction every time you get distracted. Because yes, we get distracted all the time. And we fail. Okay, I put that in quotes because there's so many negative connotations to fail. All it means is we deviate from course. But as long as you recalibrate back onto course, you're going to reach your goal every single time. Okay? But the new paradigm is about energy alignment. So I pick a destination, I pick the goal to orient my direction. And then the work becomes get present. Get into the process. Get into the action step. That action that I've been avoiding. Why have I been avoiding it? Well, because I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? Because I'm not using my mind appropriately. How do I use my mind appropriately? Pick the target, set my direction, and then recalibrate back to the present moment. Now that your mind has a target to focus upon, and you know what that action is that your soul is calling you to take to break through to the next level, now everything's going to start working. Okay, but you got to take the action with courage and faith. The faith comes in because you don't know exactly what the outcome is going to be of that action. All you know is you have a target in mind, and you know you have a plan, and you have some action steps. Your work is to now take that action and detach from the outcome. Oh, but what about whenever I fail again? Reconjure the image of your target. Call in the emotions of having it already. Picture yourself taking the action with minimal resistance, maximum power and passion and flow. What are you doing? You're calling in the emotions, which means you're recalibrating the energy of mind. Mind is the flow of energy to and through you. So this is a recalibration process I'm referring to. And that is what the sync method helps you do. Continuously recalibrate back to true north. Continuously recalibrate back to that state of empowerment, reclaiming your personal power. Okay. Now, what if you are full of negative emotion and fear and pain and sadness, regret, and, grief? What if you're grieving? Well, this is where the emotional resilience and the emotional intelligence comes in. That grief needs expression, like we talked about earlier. If you try and suppress it and just work harder to go towards the goal, it's like driving with the emergency brake on, right? Dash around the world. What is up? Dr. Bones in the house. You overslept this morning and thought you'd miss the show? Well, here you are. We're actually wrapping up here pretty soon, but listen, I'm going to be live again next Monday with Rewire Live. And if you guys want to get more of this type of coaching, I offer this in the Boost Mindset Academy. This coaching is typically reserved for those who have the means to invest quite a bit of money in themselves. And some of you guys know who are in the academy already that it's part of my mission to give greater access to this information, to help the masses, those that are chronically stuck in states of disempowerment. Well, that doesn't sit right with me. That doesn't sit right with me that only those who have the means are able to get access to this information and put it to work in their life. That doesn't sit right. So that is why I do this, and the Boost Mindset Academy is my baby. That's where the magic is really happening. So I want to invite you to join us there if this is resonating for you. As I said before, we're reading the book Creating Money right now, and we're doing the exercises at the end of the chapters, which these first two were very powerful. They were basically breaking down the process of visualization, Barney style, so it's super easy to understand and learn the foundational principles of visualization. Visualizing, using your mental capacity to create an energetic resonance with something. Okay. Hello, Andrea. Just listening today. She is a student of Boost Mindset, and it is such an amazing investment in myself. Thank you for saying that, Andrea. Appreciate that. How are you feeling? Are you feeling better? I am like the woman who touched Jesus' robe for healing. I will take what I can get because I do not currently have the means. Understood. Love the coil? The coil. Did I catch that right? What do you mean, Jen? I'm in full fibro flare-up. Oh no. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm like that woman looking for Jesus. You guys, this is funny to me because Christ consciousness is the truth that you have it in you. So what you're looking for is actually you. I know, it's weird. The spiral coil and the visualization. Nice. This week has been my body saying, hold up, listen to me. I'm like, oh dang, okay. Wild dreams, yeah. Okay, that hit for Jay Taylor. That hit. That's what Christ consciousness is. That's what Jesus was teaching, and that's what Jesus Christ got crucified for. They called it blasphemy. The Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church, crucified Jesus because he was spreading the message of self-empowerment. Guess what self-empowerment's not good for? To be controlled and manipulated by a big oligarchical church Jesus was a man for the people. Okay, the Spirit is within you, exactly. Christ consciousness is unity consciousness. And so when we're seeking something, that's a sign that your soul is seeking you from the inside. And what trap do we fall in? We reach out and we try and grasp onto something out there, and it never fills that hole. That is the source of addiction. The source of addiction. It was really annoying to me in the first several years of my transformation when people would be like, Adam, the answers you seek are in you. They're in you. Because I was reading every single book I could get my hands on. I was just looking to the mentors. I was looking for the gurus. I was pedestalizing them, putting them on a pedestal. And it didn't satiate my soul. Not until I started going deep in meditation and recognizing that I have the God presence within me. Start recognizing that my recollection of the past isn't actually true. Now it's become this aberration. It's become this, self-perpetuating energy cycle that brings me down. Had to catch that. Used to believe that when I was young, then life happened. What used to believe what when you were young? I've heard that before. I find it difficult to believe sometimes. I don't blame you. If I experienced everything you have the way you had, I probably think a lot like you as well. But do you understand that's just you and your experience? Therefore, your beliefs are probably not based on truth. They're probably based on that very narrow little band of experience that you've had. The good news is you can access collective consciousness and all the experiences that every other human being has had. That's good and bad news because it opens you up to the infinite nature of your consciousness. Yes, your consciousness is hooked up with infinite intelligence. Those are just words. The irony of this is we're all interpreting these concepts that I'm giving today through the lens of our own belief system, our own perspective. And we can only see the boundaries of that perspective. But you can experience the realm of infinite potentiality when you go beyond the mind. I love you for saying that, bro. Thank you. You got it. Real Gem Creations. I had a dream about college again. What it means to be a student is what I am defining within myself. I love that. What I'm learning, what I'm absorbing, what I'm resonating with. If you resonate with something I say, that means that you know it to be true. And it resonates. Boom. Oh, that hits. I know that. Did you guys ever feel that in math class or some other class growing up? I felt it particularly with math. Every time I would learn a new concept, I had this feeling that I already knew that. You're just confirming it for me. Like they just confirmed something I already knew. Started to become this weird thing about math, like all the way through geometry and physics and calculus. Yeah, I took all that math. Can you close the door? It just started to become this confirmation thing every time. And I would start to be right on it, waiting for that next little piece of information to be like, yep, that fits. So I don't know if any of you guys notice this in life where when you hear truth, you know it. You just know it. Yeah, nail on the head. I got you there. Facts. Interesting. Okay. Interesting is good enough. Interesting is good. It's intriguing. Jen's beyond the mind. Yes. The day I was sick, but still did sync meditation, my body needed sleep, but I didn't listen. Well, if you were giving your body meditation, it's pretty close, right? It's pretty close. I wouldn't beat up on yourself. It's like, okay, if you went out to the bars when your body needed sleep, that would be a clear violation. But meditation is, some say, 4 times more restful than actual sleep. So never put yourself down for meditating, please. It's hard to find others who know some things as I do that deeply resonates with me on some topics. I love that. Deep resonance. I feel it. I took a step back and I've been listening to my body this week, my mind, journaling and meditating. What an amazing opportunity then for you to get food poisoning, Andrea, to have that intense experience of needing to honor yourself. Necessity is sometimes the mother of invention, as they say, but also expansion and transcendence. All 38 years hit me with very much truth, right and wrongs, chosen, and free will. All that programming, all that conditioning, all those patterns make you start to wonder, who am I really sometimes? If you're like me, you've spent an inordinate amount of time in that question. I'm very committed to self-work. I'm realizing that does just mean doing BMA. It means listening to myself and my body too. Gotcha. So that doesn't mean just doing BMA. She's referring to the Boost Mindset Academy, where we do a lot of things having to do with transformation and self-empowerment. But it also means listening to myself and my body too. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Precisely. Especially listening to yourself and your body and acting on that, which is what we were talking about earlier, is what did we say? Did we say it was courage? Is acting on your own intuition, building the faith and the self-trust to act on your own intuition. That's the move. That's the move right there. Easier said than done whenever you're born into a system of rules like we are. Here's an irony on this. I grew up an outlaw, like rejecting rules, rejecting groups, rejecting clubs, rejecting communities, all these things, anything that had a rule. Okay. The irony is that I found myself back in a law-based system because we're now aligning with the natural laws, the universal laws. So the irony is that, like, on one level, success, you could say, is just live according to the law. And they're referring to either man's laws, like earning a good living, paying your taxes, being a good Samaritan, blah, blah, blah. Or religious laws like the 10 Commandments that tell you all about what morality is. Okay? Or the universal laws of vibration and attraction and correspondence and transmutation of energy and rhythm and polarity and divine oneness and all these good laws. At some point we rebel, don't we? At some point we get a little overwhelmed with the laws. But the irony for me is that I found that, like, when you start living a law-based life, and we're talking about the universal laws, that is paying attention to your vibration, understanding you have a point of attraction, so you take responsibility for what you attract. Correspondence, as above, so below. What's going on in me is being expressed out there. These are the laws you want to pay attention to and live according to. Strive to live a law-based life, not man's laws, not some book of rules about how you need to behave, but the universal laws that tell you that you have the power of consciousness within you to create that which you truly desire and how to get in harmony with those laws. So, someone who grew up an outlaw, rejecting and rebelling all systems and laws, is now telling you that the path to success and health and wellness and fulfillment is actually living a law-based life. The universal laws. Right? So what does that mean? Does that mean, like, I need to go out and tithe? No, tithing is one of those written laws in a book of rules. Instead, pay attention to how I feel when I drive past a homeless person and learn how to respond to that feeling. If I feel guilty because I'd like to help them, but instead I'm falling into a narrative of, go get a job, you lazy bum, or, he's probably going to spend it on alcohol or something like this. These are the things that I would say before. Now I realize that that's not what that vibrational distortion inside of me is actually telling me. It's not telling me to just regurgitate the status quo. It's telling me to realize that's a human being. And if I choose not to give, then just own that. Just own that I'm choosing not to give. I'm choosing to, respond to this vibrational dissonance in the way I am. All I'm saying is to own it and not need some rule book about what's good and bad to direct my action. Do you guys see what I'm saying? I'm saying turning our attention inward and letting that be our compass and our guide on how we react and how we act. That's someone who's fallen into these patterns more times than I care to admit. Okay, own the choices. Exactly. Let me go back to some comments I missed here. I missed quite a few. Sorry. This week has been like playing catch up. It's been intense. Andre, you don't need to catch everything you missed. Okay. Just tune back in when you're ready. It's okay to dip out. It's okay to dip out and not feel like you're missing something so important. It'll come back around. They all do. All the messages come back around, right? So you tuning into your own rhythm is part of this. You tuning into your own body, like you said, listening to yourself, trusting yourself, your own rhythm as well. That means if I'm just too exhausted to absorb information right now, then I own that. And I honor it. Self-trust has been my homework for longer than I realized. Got it. Okay, a lot of resonance here today. Good. 5 laws I've paid more attention to, all just mentioned. The universal laws, I'm hoping. Real gem creations. Oh God, yes, says Dash Around the World. About homeless people, how they choose to spend their life. To spend it is their choice. To give or not is mine. Well said. Well said. I choose to give because it resonated with me. Precisely. I often offer a meal more than money. Good. Being in these lives feels like a decompression. Good. Because it's a safe place to express yourself fully. I hope, and just sort of untie some knots, some mental dissonance, hopefully. Cool. So it's powerful stuff, you guys. It's powerful stuff. I often find myself looking for external permission instead of trusting inside. That's a great acknowledgement to have, right? Those kind of acknowledgements are huge, you guys. When you can really acknowledge something like, I see now that I've been doing this and it's been causing me some pain. That's beautiful, because that totally opens up the pathway for healing when you do that. We need to allow other people to have their own experience. It's not our job to interrupt their frequencies. I love that, Jen. That's a big one. That's a big one. That's a very subtle way of giving away your power. And for those of us who were raised with really domineering or strict parents, or those who used corporal punishment, we were trained to invest our energy in other people's, to invest our attention in other people's energy. Okay, so like hypervigilance is when you have to be super on your toes about what the other person is thinking or feeling, and you're just disconnected from yourself in that state. So what Jen said is huge. We need to allow other people to have their own experience. They can experience happiness and joy and exuberance. That's awesome. That's beautiful. They can also experience pain and suffering and dissonance. That's okay. It's not for us to erase. It's not for us to take on. It's for us to notice how it triggers our own system and respond to that. Do you see what the shift here? The shift is inward. The shift is owning your own vibration. If everyone did that, there would never be another war. The only reason there's war is because we're so afraid to own our own vibrational dissonance, we seek someone else to blame for it. We want them to be responsible. We want them to change. That way, we're not triggered as much. Right? What you say though resonates very deeply, more so than a lot of people. I'm glad to hear that. Right? So I find, that happens when people tune in to these live streams. It hits different, right? It hits different. And I think that's because I have a perspective of being trapped in the trauma loop in my past. I have that perspective. I have the perspective of being pushed by the boomers, the previous generation. Okay? And those paradigms that were disseminated upon a generation. I understand that this is about breaking the generational patterns so that you can claim your own personal power. And when I went seeking this knowledge and putting it to work in my life, I found out I'm not the first one to go through this. I felt like I was, because I wasn't being validated by the people that were supposed to validate me when I was young, because I've been thinking about these things for a long time, when I was a little kid. And my father's really sought to, dampen that or put an end to it, to stop me from thinking so much, to stop me from being so sensitive. So that's why he got me into the sport of wrestling. And I then, got indoctrinated into that warrior mindset, that warrior mentality. So I have that perspective of being very physically focused, being very much invested in that physical power, and being very much disconnected from my own energy, my own truth, and my intuition. So I know the pains of lacking that self-trust. And I've been on the journey of rebuilding that for some time. And you guys are watching it in real time. And I'm watching it in real time with my students in the academy and you guys on these live streams. So there's no question to me why there's such strong resonance. The external locus versus our own, exactly, dash around the world, going from the external to the internal locus of control, precisely. Accountability, I feel like I am riding some waves right now and get to ride it out before riding the next wave. I love that analogy. I think you're so right about that, Andrea. Right on point. Yes, the relatability is 100%. Amazing. Same again in a few things. Became sensitive more. Yeah, you become more sensitive, for sure. That's something I speak on frequently, because as we expand and we become more aware of our own power, we become more sensitive, a more sensitive instrument. And things like what's happening with Andrea happen, where your body will, you either get hit by a contagion or food poisoning, or your body just swings out of control just because you're not used to new rhythms, new patterns, breaking down old belief systems. It very much has a physiological effect. Like your whole body will transform if you continue transforming your mind. Neuroplasticity is not just changing the shape of your brain, it's also changing the shape of your body, because the brain and the body are very much intertwined, right? The mind-body operating system is what I like to call it. Completely intertwined with your energy patterns. And it's super powerful. Okay. Really glad I got to be present today in this live. Good. Warrior archetype, I thought I was positive, but it can also be disempowering. Shouldn't always be a battle. Exactly, Jen. It doesn't always need to be a battle. And if you're a warrior constantly oriented towards war, then what do you think your life's going to be full of? That's been my challenge. I was a wrestler for 15 years, and I did nothing but eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling. And I was successful at wrestling. But I became a wrestler with life. I often call wrestling the poor man's sport. It's the oldest sport, the first sport ever documented, literally. But it's so interesting to me and a source of bitterness for me that there's no money in the sport of wrestling. Wrestling is the only sport who has a mockery version of the sport, a fake version that I know of, right? You've got real wrestling based on the oldest sport in history, and then you've got WWF, fake wrestling, and they call that professional wrestling. So there's no money in real wrestling. You have to go into the fake, like performative art that is professional wrestling. So this is just an aside, but like I just wanted to illustrate the conditioning patterns of wrestlers. Wrestlers go towards the fire. They work harder than anybody else. They'll get their hand raised on the podium and they'll sprint off into the track and do sprints afterwards after they just won a tournament or something. They're just addicted to the hustle. They're addicted to the work. And that's virtuous on some levels, but to never stop and celebrate, to not know how to be easy about life and relaxed, to not take things so seriously all the time, to not think that life is just one battle after the next, that would be nice, don't you think? Yeah. And it's a poor man's sport. There's no money in it. They don't promote themselves. They don't reach outwardly for external validation. They don't do that stuff. Okay, some of the things that famous athletes do might seem egotistical on the surface, but contribute massively to their success. Massively. So that's just an aside. It's a deeper topic. I'm not sure how relevant it is for today. This week's title is Body, after weeks of mind and soul and goals. Gotcha. I was also in wrestling for a while. Unless you get in with the fake stuff, exactly. That is interesting. Life to be enjoyed, not just endured. That's the way to put it right there. Thank you, Chels. That's what I was trying to say. Life is to be enjoyed, not just endured. That's right. And maybe you don't have to work for every little thing like wrestlers think you do. Maybe if you align energetically with a state of receivership, a state of deservingness already, a state of being worthy already, maybe things will flow into your experience more readily. And this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, whether it's a professional athlete or a professional actor or professional anything that breaks through in a big way. Most of the time, they own their shit. They're authentic. They're themselves unapologetically, or they're playing that role. Either way, it opens up the floodgates of the flow of energy in the form of money a lot of times to start moving again, start flowing. So this is just an example of one insidious paradigm that can actually keep us stuck for a long time. Okay, not dogging wrestling. You know, wrestlers, I admire wrestlers for their work ethic and their physical prowess. And it's also a mental game. You got to be very smart in the sport of wrestling as well. But I think the fact that there's no real professional sport of wrestling where you can actually make a living like you could in golf or tennis or basketball or football or soccer or any of the other sports, it speaks to your ability to, I don't know, what's at the core of this? I feel like it's almost like self-promotion. Be able to promote yourself. I think a lot of these warrior sports and warrior type of things they can be rooted in a sense of lack and not good enough and needing to prove yourself for what it's worth. These are some ideas for you guys to consider today. Your brother got a partial scholarship. Was better but hated school, so I dropped out, never looked back. Interesting. Well, they don't always teach us principles of empowerment in college. In fact, it's rare. What they're teaching us typically is how to play it safe, how to get a predictable job, how to be marketable in the job market, those types of things, which are useful. But eventually, I think our soul seeks a higher level of knowledge. A higher level of knowledge is energy amplification, energy optimization, optimizing your own energy to reduce drag and reduce resistance on your way to accomplishing or creating the life and the vision that you resonate with. What you just said, having to prove yourself. Why can't we just be? And I'll tell you why we can't just be. It's because we don't know who we really are, dash around the world. The drive to prove ourselves is rooted in a mistaken identity. Deep down, we know we're more powerful and we're worth more than we're giving ourselves credit for. We know we're larger than the drama that we are embroiled in on a day-to-day basis. We know we're larger than the status quo and the social narrative and the job, the salary, the health benefits, the retirement account. If you're paying attention, like those things, they feel nice because they make us feel safe. And then if you go any deeper, you start to realize that any structures that are put there to keep you safe can have a double-edged sword of blocking you from your true potential. Yeah, people are still not happy, but let's say people are not fulfilled instead, because happiness is the kind of thing that we get wrong. We shouldn't be chasing happiness. Happiness should be a state of being that arises from the consistent energy alignment that we're doing. Not something that we're chasing, right? When we chase it, external, and we use something to create the happiness. It's nice. Chocolate cake is really nice. It tastes really good. But that joy runs out really quick. It's not something that you want to eat every day, and it's not something you want to eat a lot of. It's little bits. However, joy is a state of being that naturally arises when you learn how to reclaim your personal power and turn your attention inward and remove harmful belief systems and paradigms. Joy naturally arises, and joy is a little different than happiness. Happiness is a little bit more, like dopamine. It's fleeting. Gratitude, says Chills. And gratitude is that state of recognizing the joy within you. Okay, recognizing the joy within you, a state of internal gratitude. Super powerful. Easier said than done if you don't feel grateful. If you don't feel grateful because you don't like how your life is going and you're trapped in, internal narratives that are not healthy, then the work is to smooth out that energy. It's to create energy alignment. It's to ask yourself the deeper questions. Who am I really? And to start honoring your intuition. If you don't honor your own truth, if you never do, then it's going to be real difficult for you to tap into joy and feel healthy and happy. At the end of the day, I think it really does come down to honoring your truth. So that's a practice, and that's something that I'm always encouraging our members to do, and something I need to remember for myself as well. To act on my intuition. Over time, that builds self-trust. Okay? And to call out the BS, the bullshit belief systems. To call them out. It's difficult to call out our own thoughts and our own beliefs, but you can do it. And it'll become second nature to you. Now, that can feel sometimes, though, like questioning yourself. That can feel like destabilizing, excuse me. It can feel destabilizing to question yourself. So you got to watch out for patterns of self-deprecation, of putting yourself down. this necessitates the tool of radical self-compassion and self-empathy, which is something that's been coming up frequently in the academy, because you're coming into your power. You're recognizing that the belief system you've been operating on isn't serving you anymore, and furthermore, it's probably based on a bunch of lies that you were told by people who were supposedly wise and loved you. You may start to realize that you don't have the capacity to give or share or love other people because there's too much turbulence inside of you. These are all scenarios that require you to surrender and to exhibit radical compassion and radical empathy for yourself in this process that you're in. People ask, is my $5 million retirement fund going to be enough for me? It's incredible. Is it going to be enough for you? What do you think? What's the answer to that question? Or what comes up for you when they ask that? I've got about another 5 minutes here before I have to hop off, you guys. This has been a deep conversation. I hope that it was illuminating for you guys. And I want to keep the discussion going. So whatever came up, whatever, piqued your interest, I'd love to hear about it. If you're in the Boost Mindset Academy already, let's hear it. Where is your evolution at now? What pieces of information have you been able to apply and turn into wisdom? What limiting beliefs are you now seeing as lies that you're now ready to let go of? Or what beliefs have you been trying to let go of, but they're persisting? Or maybe they're transforming or twisting into other things. All these things can happen, okay? Whoa. I just got a notification. Thanks for the rose, Cheese. Right on time with this notification. Check that out. If you guys enjoyed this live, I appreciate you sharing it and liking it. And again, to me, it's about the discussion, because my mission is to spread the message of self-empowerment and eradicate the epidemic of unworthiness. This flawed self-concept that humanity is walking around with, creating density in our energy fields and disease on a widespread basis here. It's just not right. It's just not right that, more people aren't accessing their power. Because for every one person that, it gets illuminated from this information, your blue flame lights up, you become more energetic, more powerful, and it's going to spread in your life to the people around you. That's how I can have the biggest impact. That's how I can have the biggest ripple effect, as long as you guys are lighting up. Definitely going to focus on my own energy. I love that, truly, Trudy. Thank you for saying that. El Nicole says, your tone changed. When did it change? When did you notice a tone change? At the moment, some old programs and lacks of movement and focus. Okay, beautiful. Because when you become aware of the blockage or the trigger and you write it down, now we can actually do something about it. While it's lodged in the subconscious mind, it's in the unconscious. That means we're not consciously aware of it. Well, it's actually going to be causing the biggest impact in our life and controlling our behavior and our circumstances. So when you become aware of it, write it down. Okay, do the self-introspective work of asking, is this true? Is this belief true? What evidence do I have to support this belief? What evidence could I provide to support a more empowering belief? See, when you want a new belief, you need to now find evidence, supporting evidence for that belief. Did you guys know that about belief shifting? That's how it works. And that's why affirmations don't work if you don't know what you're doing, because a lot of times people will just affirm what they want or the opposite of what they don't want, and that's great. But until you start to shift your perspective and find evidence to support those new beliefs, well, you're not going to believe them. That's the way that works. So Your work is to be a little bit of a detective here on these beliefs that you're becoming aware of, and ask yourself, what would I need to believe to reverse this? And what evidence can I find to support that? That's going to help you shortcut the learning curve greatly. All right. Since last visited, said Nicole. Okay. Cool. The tone is evolving. The tone is shifting. But it's always rooted in empowerment, self-empowerment. Okay. That's all I have for you guys today. For those of you who are inspired today, hey Marina, good to see you. For those of you guys, nice, thanks Carrie, I appreciate that. I have to figure out a different way to pray because everything I'm feeling is pulling from religion. Okay, I will cover that in our next live stream because I have some important insights on prayer and how to make your prayer more effective, more powerful. Okay. Thank you, Doc. Doc Bones in the house. Dash around the world. So good seeing you. I should put these on Apple Podcasts, said Carrie. Do I have a second on that? Would you guys listen to this in a podcast form? I'm curious. This kind of is a podcast, but it's like a live stream podcast. Okay. I've got several consensus on this. Meditation more, says El Nicole. Well, Nicole, that's what we do, okay? In the Boost Mindset Academy. It is a meditation-based community. Meditation is our primary tool for the transformation of consciousness because it taps you into the present moment like nothing else. And it shows you where you have mental distortions happening, okay? So, if you guys were inspired today, click the link in the bio. Join. If it turns out to not be a good fit, you can drop anytime. Okay? And if you reference this TikTok live stream when you join, because you'll get a message from me when you join, I'm going to hook you up with a one-on-one call with myself. Okay? A free call for joining and referencing this TikTok live stream. Okay? That's a special offer. Okay? This needs to be recorded. So listen, you guys, these live streams are all recorded on TikTok. I've just been debating how to share the information, outside of the live stream. Let me ask you guys this. Do you think it would be best to post the whole thing on like YouTube, for example, in video format, or to just turn this into an audio podcast? Or to continue doing what I've been doing, which is kind of having a video editor chop up some sound bites from the lives and posting those on TikTok. What do you guys think? This needs to be recorded. Yes, you need a podcast, says Marina. Definitely. Okay. 24 karat gold. Hell yeah. I love that. Whoa, what just happened? Oh, okay. Spotify could be a good for podcasts. Okay. Take care, Nicole. Yes, please. Video. Okay. Audio, podcast, or even both. Go out communities, says Nicole. It's more immersive with the video. YouTube and podcast. I follow a few people who do both. Okay. They record the visual on YouTube and then just post the audio on podcast. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Audio as well for longer car rides. It would be interesting because podcasts aren't typically with a live audience with like live feedback and things like this. Are they? Not typically, right? But that would be unique. That would be unique. If people could listen at work while they're working, listening to empowering stuff. Break that mold. Interesting. Okay. The thing is, they're not going to be able to see the comments. That's one challenge. Jay Taylor is at work. It's funny. I do that a lot, says Carrie. Man, F this job. You guys are awesome. The thing is, the comments aren't recorded on the video. So when I play the video back, the only way they know the question that you guys asked is if I repeat the question back. So there's some kind of challenges to that. Right. I do generally read the question first. A realtor named House says, "Howdy, Adam." Hey. So essentially we are listening to the comments as well, and you do it smoothly that it doesn't seem truncated. Okay. Okay. Thank you guys so much for the feedback. I really appreciate it immensely. And I will do something. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what yet, but I've been feeling like I want to post these on YouTube, but one of my team members has been advising me against that, but I don't see why not. Yeah, typically I do. I read the comment first and then the answer, but it is a little bit kind of interesting. So let me feel into this, you guys. Thank you guys so much for the suggestions. You solid go viral, Doc. You solid go viral, Doc. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm just trying to get with the times, I guess, in the new language. Some funny stuff. All right. Thanks again, you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next live stream, okay? Stay tuned and join the Boost Mindset Academy. See ya.